In the heart of a forgotten kingdom where golden sands stretched endlessly and the wind carried whispers of ancient secrets, there was a small village named Lorien. Among its humble inhabitants was a young girl named Elara. She was known for her deep blue eyes, which shimmered like the ocean under the sun. But Elara carried a sorrowful secret. She had never cried, not even once in her life. One evening, as Elara walked by the river, she noticed an unusual shimmer beneath the water. Curious, she reached in and pulled out a small translucent blue gem. It was unlike anything she had ever seen, smooth, cold, and glowing faintly in the moonlight. As she held it, a strange sensation washed over her, like a forgotten memory resurfacing. She hurried home to show the village elder, an old woman named Serafina, who had lived for over 100 years. As soon as Serafina saw the gem, her wrinkled face turned pale. "This is no ordinary stone, child," Serafina whispered. "This is a teardrop." Elara frowned. "A teardrop? What does that mean?" Serafina took a deep breath and began a tale as old as time. Long ago, there was a goddess named Liora, the keeper of emotions. She blessed the world with love, joy, and sorrow. But when greed and cruelty spread across the land, she wept a single tear. That tear fell to the earth, crystallizing into a gem of immense power, the teardrop. It is said that whoever possesses it shall unlock the truest emotions hidden within their soul. Elara shivered as she looked at the glowing gem in her hand. But why did it appear now? Serafina's eyes darkened. "Because, child, something is coming, and the world will need its power once more." That night, Elara felt restless. She tossed and turned, dreaming of a dark shadow swallowing the village. The next morning, she awoke to the sound of panicked voices. Rushing outside, she saw a thick mist creeping through the village, swallowing everything in its path. The villagers ran, but the mist moved faster. Elara clutched the teardrop. A sudden warmth spread from her palm to her heart. Without thinking, she raised the gem. A bright blue light burst from it, pushing the mist back. The villagers gasped in awe. "You are the chosen one," Serafina said. "You must take the teardrop to the Temple of Liora before the darkness consumes us all." Though fear gripped her, Elara nodded. She had no choice. She packed her belongings and set out on a journey that would change her forever. Elara traveled for days, crossing deserts, forests, and mountains. Along the way, she faced many trials that tested her emotions. In the Forest of Echoes, she encountered illusions of her greatest fears: being alone, being forgotten, failing those she loved. She almost gave in to despair, but the teardrop glowed, reminding her of her purpose. In the Valley of Shadows, she met a lost boy named Kai, who had no memory of his past. Elara felt a strange connection to him and decided to bring him along. Together they faced the cold, the hunger, and the endless doubts creeping into their hearts. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Kai spoke softly. "Do you think the teardrop will really save the world?" Elara looked at the gem. "I don't know, but I believe it chose me for a reason." Kai smiled. "Then I'll believe in you too." After weeks of traveling, they finally reached the Temple of Liora. It stood atop a mountain, surrounded by a sky so clear it felt like touching heaven. As they stepped inside, a voice echoed, "Who dares to disturb the sacred temple?" A spirit appeared, its form shifting like mist. "To restore the teardrop, you must offer the one thing you cherish most." Elara hesitated. She had already lost so much: her home, her safety. What more could she give? Then she realized the one thing she had never given away was her own tears. She had never cried, never allowed herself to feel true sorrow. Closing her eyes, she thought of her parents, lost long ago. She thought of the villagers, afraid and suffering. She thought of Kai, who had become like a brother to her. A single tear rolled down her cheek. As it fell, the teardrop in her hand shattered into 1,000 tiny lights, filling the temple with warmth. The spirit smiled. "You have restored balance." When Elara and Kai returned to the village, the mist had disappeared. The people were safe. "You did it," Kai whispered. Elara smiled, but this time tears streamed down her face, not from sadness but from overwhelming joy. For the first time in her life, she truly understood the power of emotions. And with that, the teardrop's purpose was fulfilled. From that day on, Elara was known as the guardian of the teardrop, the girl who saved the world with a single tear.